just like a samurai.
Hi, I'm Dawn of the World, and today I'm going to be shining a light on One Piece chapter 1024, Nobody Important. Jumping right into the main action of the chapter, we have this battle of colossal proportions between Kaido and Yamato. We then get some back and forth between the father and child, before being thrown probably around 20 years into the past. Kaido-san, the Oni princess, has been throwing a non-stop tantrum for a week. I actually don't doubt this at all, given how extreme people in One Piece can tend to be, with quite a few examples of battles that have gone on for days without taking time to rest or eat or piss, so it doesn't surprise me that a child of a Yonko, especially one labelled the strongest creature, would have likewise tenacity. I also found this panel of Kaido pretty funny, like the guy's only just gotten rid of Oden once and for all, and now he has to deal with this. After initially seeming impressed with the fact 8-year-old Yamato has awakened Conqueror's Haki, he then decides he feels threatened by this whole Oden business and attempts the parenting tactic of time out. It's like he's trying for Deadbeat of the Year award and is bidding to join One Piece's ever-growing list of deadbeat dads, which I think he has achieved. So imagine this. You're a powerful samurai, but you're being imprisoned by the enemy for fighting for what you believe is right. The enemy then throws his own kid into the same cell as you for a month-long time out. If you're one of these mysterious samurai, you no longer need a magic. And now, this is the guy who's got everyone talking. He says he's nobody important, but we can clearly see he looks exactly like an old Zoro from a recent SBS. Which leads me to believe that this is actually a future Zoro, and he has travelled back in time using the powers of the reverse Toki Toki no Mi. I'm just growing, it's totally Shimotsuki Ushimaru. Who at this point is most likely Zoro's father, or possibly grandfather, considering he looks at least in his 40s at this point, and Zoro would have been just 1 year old. Most likely his father, however. Which, in and of itself, opens up a variety of questions and observations. Who did you create Zoro with? That eye injury looks recent. The men of the Shimotsuki line must all have to adapt to a decreased sense of depth perception. If this flashback continues, will we have any instance of this man referring to his 1-year-old child? And if Oden and Ishimaru were indeed friends, could an 8-year-old Momo have met a 1-year-old Zoro? This also raises the question, was Zoro himself born in Wano country? If so, he could have been whisked away to East Blue aboard the same ship that transported the Bari Bari no Mi and the Mane Mane no Mi out of Wano, especially considering the Bari Bari no Mi ended up in East Blue. As for how he ended up on the ship, it may have been the case that he was stashed aboard by the people of Ringo, perhaps under request of Ushimaru himself, as they did not want to see the child of their daimyo hunted down simply for his lineage. This would add more weight to Ishimaru being unbothered by Yamato as the child of Kaido. Aside from it being the obvious decent person thing to do, why would a father whose child is in danger for simply being their child turn around and give another child grief because of their lineage? Another less plot interwoven option for how Zoro could have ended up on an outgoing ship is that Zoro has never been navigationally gifted. He may have crawled or toddled his way aboard while no one was watching. I, however, think the first option of him having been quietly stashed aboard makes more sense, after which the toddler Zoro was deposited in Shimotsuki village for safekeeping, where he was raised until he was old enough to go out into the world, get lost, join a pirate crew, and eventually end up right back where he started. Or if he was born in Shimotsuki village, perhaps it was his mother, who was pregnant with him at the time, who was stashed aboard the ship. Either way, I'm all the more interested to see Yamato and Zoro properly meet in the present day. Anyway, as Yamato, Ushimaru, and these two other samurai, who I'm sure will also have names, take a gander at Oden's logbook, I really love these panels of these beams of light flooding down into the dark cave, and the look of absolute wonder in Yamato's eyes as they discover Oden's adventures in lands far away. And after 10 days pass, the samurai realize that Kaido really is that much of a deadbeat, and if they don't act now, Yamato will likely die. In a burst of light, they decide to do their bit to bring about a dawn, whose warm sunlight they themselves won't get to feel, but Yamato, Zoro, and the children of that generation and beyond will get to embrace. After this, we switch back to the present day, with a very impressive and loaded double-page spread of what we now more than ever understand is a long-fated clash between father and child. What right did you have to steal my freedom? What right did you have to steal Wano's freedom? To me, this feels like a very conclusive statement from Yamato and makes me wonder if this particular fight, for better or worse, will soon be coming to an end. This particular panel of Kaido saying there are no easy answers in this world is shrouded in mystery and carries a lot of weight, the true sum of which I think we'll soon understand whenever we find out his backstory. The themes of the chapter are integral to One Piece as a whole. Family and family ties is explored through an overarching theme that regardless of the conditions of someone's birth or of their lineage, a child bears no sin and just existing isn't a crime, regardless of where someone came from or their capabilities. We see this in Yamato's flashback, of course, in the way that Kaido is willing to kill his own child for being Oden, yet the samurai heed no ill will towards Yamato for being the child of Kaido. If we want to speculate a bit further, there's also room to ponder if an infant or unborn Zoro was whisked away from Wano to avoid the risk of him being punished under the new shogun for his lineage. The importance of freedom as a theme throughout the overarching story of One Piece cannot be understated, and it certainly rears its head in literal and metaphorical ways, from the way Yamato was oppressed to the way the nation of Wano was oppressed, both under Kaido. Lastly, the theme of hope can be seen in what Yamato represents to the imprisoned samurai, and legacy in what the samurai ultimately give in return. We can make our contribution to that future battle by ensuring your survival. After all, 20 years is a little too long for us to wait. Now, I'm not one of those people who's obsessed with the Hamilton musical, but this makes me think of that one particular quote. What is a legacy? It's planting seeds in a garden you never get to see, which I think is really beautiful and a little bit sad and can be applied to numerous characters throughout One Piece. How many instances of characters are there who fought to bring in a dawn in which whose warmth and sunlight they'd never get to bask? That pretty much covers the bulk of the chapter. However, I would like to go back and appreciate some of the Straw Hats' interactions during the chapter's opening. Of course, no arc featuring Usopp, or in this case Usohachi, would be complete without him utilising his bravado in some capacity as a means for covering for his allies, and people, of course, falling for it. This opens up room for contemplation and speculation as to whether or not Usopp will develop Conqueror's Haki somewhere down the line, which would be great, though I also have to consider the number of Conqueror's Haki users that could feasibly just so happen to be on the same small crew, but this is One Piece. I would also like to draw attention to this particular Gator Smile user he seems to have befriended. Good for them. I loved seeing the exchange between Nami and Franky over the Den Mushi, and seeing Franky take charge on the live floor. It can sometimes be easy to forget that Franky was once the leader of the underworld of an entire island, but in moments like this we can really see him taking that leader initiative. I also really loved seeing Brook carrying and taking care of Robin. I always love to see the Straw Hats being protective of each other, and the total faith and trust Robin has in her nakama is a wonderful aspect of her character development. However, I still wonder if the nearby CP0 are going to make a move, especially considering this panel of them just watching back in chapter 1021, and the fact that not since just Zoe, not since just Dressrosa, but from Robin's very first appearance post-time skip, the subplot of her being pursued by the world government among other enemies has been continuously alluded to. Not to mention that now Jinbei has faced Who's Who, Brook is both the only member of the Straw Hats who's neither faced a Cypher Pole agent, nor had a comprehensive battle against a particular opponent during this raid on Onigashima. These two birds could potentially be taken out with a one stone, and like his nakama in Enies Lobby not too long before he joined the crew, he would be fighting the Cypher Pole for the freedom and protection of Robin, who was first declared a criminal simply for knowledge that she had and the place she was born, if we want to nod back to a sins of the father type parallel, if you can even call it that in this case. And I'm kind of getting the impression now that Jinbei is going to bring his fisherman karate and douse the entire third floor as the one-man fire brigade they desperately need. So are we going to get firefighting Jinbei? Are we going to get CP0 fighting Brook? Are we going to get more of Kaido fighting Yamato? Are we going to get more of Yamato's backstory in general? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Thank you for joining me for this week's chapter review. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you're interested in any of my upcoming One Piece discussions, theories, and analyses. I'm Dawn of the World, and I will see you next time. Bye guys!